Hello, everyone. Sufit here. I'm here today with Charles B. Ticker, estate mediator and the author of Bobby Gets Bupkis, Navigating the Sibling Estate Fight. Charles, welcome.
Thanks, Fee.
So, what I'd like to ask you about today, Charles, is in your role as mediator, do you think it's important to get the participants, the litigants, talking about their past relationship, maybe in their childhood, or should we just get straight to the matter at hand? Who gets the cottage, who gets the farm? What's your approach to that?
Well, my approach is always to delve into the background of the parties. I'll ask questions about their childhood, how they got along with their sibling, what their relationship was with their parents, because they quite often, or almost always, will share pretty intimate information, which can give you some insight as to maybe what's driving the dispute. So, yes, most definitely, I get into that.
So maybe is it a little bit like the unseen decision maker situation that you have with salespeople, that they need all the real decision makers in the room? Maybe that 8-year-old kid is really one of the decision makers because of something that happened. Do you remember any incidents from your childhood? You have a sibling, yes?
Yes, I do. I have a sister, younger sister. Yeah,
So
I've written about this in my book. We're as siblings, yeah, siblings do. We sometimes did not get along, and she was my younger sister, and she was always getting into my stuff and getting into my Monopoly game and losing the pieces. And one day I got so annoyed with her, I threw a shoe at her head, and thankfully I missed. And I think I was 9, she was 4, or something like that. We were 5 years apart, and I figured she'll forget about it. Uh, and I thought she did, but then 20 years later, at my wedding, she's making a speech and she talks about the time I threw a shoe at her head. So she obviously hadn't forgotten about it. And that's what I see in these mediations. And my sister and I want to be very clear, we're not in an estate fight. We get along great. But as I see at these mediations, is that they'll bring up stuff that happened when they were, 10 years old, and it's still with them. So that is driving to a great extent how they're approaching the problem and how they're making decisions. It's part of their psyche. So I'm not saying we can change that at the mediation, but talking about it and helping them realize, look, we can't change anything that's happened, and we understand that had a great effect on you, but what is this case doing to you? What can we do about that? So I find it helps me get a better understanding of where they're at, and also helps, of course, build rapport and trust.
yeah, yeah. Well, I trust that no shoes are being thrown at the current mediations.
Well, it's hard to do that over Zoom, and even when we do in
Oh,
person,
yes.
they're in separate rooms. But
Yeah.
no, I haven't seen anyone go to fisticuffs yet. No.
And so do you sometimes get a sense as a mediator that maybe one of the parties in the past had picked on the other, and maybe that dynamic was still um, felt by the other, whether it continues to present day or not, that one of the parties is sort of has the remembrance of being picked on? I mean, kids pick on each other, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I remember, I think almost every kid that, to a certain extent, has an incident where they've been picked on or bullied. I remember when I was growing up, and my grandmother, Bubby Ticker, my dad's mom, was babysitting once, and somebody in the street was giving me a hard time or something, and you know, I, I probably was upset about it. And she ran out with a frying pan. You leave Chuck alone. So, and I was a little like embarrassed when that happened, but on the other hand, I felt really great. I had my head defender there. I had my super fan that backing me up. So yeah, so I think this is something that happens, and I certainly have had many participants talk about, my sibling, he or she always what gets their way, and they bullied me, and and that's what they're doing now, and because they have more money, or that's their personality, and they can and so how I deal with that is get them to understand, look, it's great that you've told me this, I appreciate it, but you can either continue to be the victim or you can take control of the situation and move on with your life and deal with it. Because a lot of people just think the courts are going to save them from the bully. No, the courts aren't going to save you from the bully. The courts are going to make a decision based on the facts, and they're not really interested in what happened to you as a child. And I tried to tell the parties that I said, look, I'm interested in what happened. Judge may not, it's not going to be interested, but thank you for sharing this with me. What can we do? How can I help you to move forward? And that's what I see happen a lot at the mediations.
All right. So it sounds like one of the keys to successful settlement negotiations might be to understand the dynamic, the family dynamic in the past, and maybe um, use that information to resolve the situation in the present. Is that right?
Correct? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Our guest today has been Charles B. Ticker, author of Bobby Gets Bubkus, Navigating the Sibling Estate Fight. Charles, thank you very much.
My pleasure.